What if the moments you call failures are not the end of your story, but the very beginning of it? What if every time you fell, life was simply pointing you toward a different path, one you were meant to walk? We grow up thinking failure is a permanent label, a scar on our identity. But the truth is, failure does not define you. Your response to it does. Think about Thomas Edison. People remember him as the man who gave the world the light bulb. But few remember that he failed thousands of times before succeeding. When asked about it, he said he didn't fail thousands of times. He simply found thousands of ways that didn't work. That perspective is everything. Edison refused to let failure become his identity. He saw it as a teacher, not a jailer. And yet, how often do we let one mistake chain us to shame? A failed exam convinces a student they aren't smart enough. A failed relationship convinces someone they aren't lovable. A failed business convinces a dreamer they should stop dreaming. But those are lies. They are temporary results, not permanent truths. The problem is not failure itself. The problem is the story we tell ourselves afterward. Psychologists have studied this deeply. Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset shows that people who see failure as feedback grow stronger, while those who see it as proof of weakness stop trying. The brain, when challenged by mistakes, literally rewires itself, building new pathways to learn and adapt. That means your failure is not your enemy. It is proof that your brain and your life are still in motion. Let me tell you about Ryan. He was an ambitious young man with big dreams of starting his own business. He invested his savings, worked hard, and believed in his idea. But within a year, his business collapsed. He lost money, confidence, and almost lost himself. For months, he carried the weight of shame, replaying his mistakes over and over. He thought failure had defined him forever. But one day, while reading about entrepreneurs he admired, he realized something. Every one of them had failed, sometimes multiple times, before finding success. Suddenly, his failure wasn't the end of his story. It was a chapter, a lesson. He tried again. This time, he adjusted, he listened, he grew. Years later, that same man built a business far stronger than the first. Looking back, he often said that if his first dream hadn't fallen apart, the second would never have been born. History is full of stories like Ryan's. J.K. Rowling, before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, was rejected by 12 publishers. Imagine if she had stopped at the first rejection. Michael Jordan, considered one of the greatest basketball players of all time, was once cut from his high school basketball team. He later said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." These people didn't escape failure. They simply refused to let it define them. But this isn't just about famous names. It's about you. Maybe you failed at something important, a relationship, a job, a dream you poured your soul into. Maybe you carry that pain quietly, thinking it says something about who you are. But failure doesn't speak about your worth. It only speaks about your attempt, and an attempt is always better than silence. Think about the alternative, never trying at all. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. When a person fails once and then convinces themselves they'll always fail, so they stop trying altogether. That is the true tragedy, not the failure itself. Because every time you try again, you rewrite the story. You show yourself that you are more than the moment you fell. Failure hurts, no doubt about it. It stings, it lingers, it bruises the ego. But it also carries a strange gift: clarity. You learn what doesn't work, who you really are, and how much strength you actually have. You discover that you can stand up after falling. And that realization alone changes everything. So if you feel like your life has been defined by your mistakes, pause and ask yourself, who gave failure the authority to define you? You are not the grade on a test. You are not the rejection letter. You are not the breakup, the bankruptcy, or the missed opportunity. You are the person who stood back up, and that is what counts. Remember this truth: failure is not a full stop, it's a comma. It's a pause in the story, not the end of it. Your future is not determined by how many times you fall, but by how many times you choose to rise. So keep moving forward. Even if the steps are small, even if the road feels endless, even if you are afraid of failing again, because the only true failure is refusing to try. Everything else is just training. Everything else is shaping you for the day you will succeed. One day, when you look back, you won't remember the pain of each failure. You'll remember the strength you built because of them, and you will realize that failure never defined you, it refined you. And maybe that is the greatest victory of all.